Gladness. All right. Well, I went looking in all my collection of mugs. I went looking to try to find a happy one because I'm talking about the oil of gladness. So this particular mug, I hardly ever use it because it's technically not mine. It's one of the few that's not my mug, and it's in our house. Underneath here, it says that it was made with love for my good friend Stacy by Monette. So Monette Demuth is a good friend of ours, and she made this mug for Stacy, and somehow she managed to make it with our actual wedding colors on it, the green and the purple. And this is the month of our wedding, so I thought it was very appropriate that I would use the wedding colors mug, and it's a happy mug because I want to talk about the oil of gladness. So, this week has been one of those weeks where I have a lot of stuff going on. And that's true most of the time, but most of the time I'm able to float along with it and take care of things and not be too concerned. But for whatever reason, this week, everything was piling up, and it wasn't just piling up out here on my desk. It was piling up in my mind. And so there was a kind of a psychological thing going on where I really was feeling the stress and the pressure of everything. And I just mean, it just felt like everything, And alongside that is, as a visionary, I have my ups and my downs of different ideas and thoughts and plans and what God is doing and what we're supposed to be doing and all of the excitement for that. And when it comes to that, I'm a lot like Colorado weather. Like it snowed last night, so I mowed the grass last week. I think on a Friday, I mowed the grass. We've been planting things. We've started. Let's see. I might be able to find a few of the pictures of what we started planting. Let me see if I can actually pull that up. But it snowed last night. We went to our Living History dress rehearsal last night, and afterward I was outside and it snowed on us. So let's see. Is this the correct one? Yes, it is. So here we see me and my good friend Raymond, and this is last night after our rehearsal, and there was snow on the trees everywhere. Looks like it's taking a long time to actually be a clear picture. Let's see if it'll... Whoa, that's even worse. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. But it snowed. And then, let's see. Here was this morning. I looked out the window. That's out the front door, front window. Here's out the back window. There is snow in Colorado. And so I made a cup of coffee earlier this morning, and I already drank that cup. And so now this was my second one, because it's not 10 o'clock on a Tuesday right now. Oh, I didn't actually show you those, did I? Here we go. Let me transition those over where you can see them. Here's my cup of coffee that I spoke of from this morning. And here's the snow out the back porch, out the front window. And somewhere here is my friend Raymond and I in the snow last night at Living History Days. So this is like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I think, I'm not actually sure what time it was. Maybe it was 9 o'clock. 8:30, 9 o'clock. But there was snow everywhere last night. So we're here in Denver, and we're experiencing all the weather that comes along the Front Range. And the weather just... I love weather. This is something that you can ask my wife. I really enjoy all the different kinds of weather. I like snow. I like rain. I like all the different kinds of weather. And of all the places that I've ever lived, this place seems to give us the most changes of any place. Like when we lived in Montana, our valley could get locked into one weather pattern for weeks. And, I remember it being 40 below zero, and it would warm up to like 20 below during the day and then go back down to 40 below. And it might stay there for several weeks. I remember those winters back in the early 90s, and I found a certain delight in the fact that I could be getting cabin fever and be stuck inside, and just the emotions of it all. And I remember being down in Texas, and it'd be hot and dry, and you'd smell the heat for miles around, and then a blue norther would come blowing in, and you'd feel the change of it. I can remember the smell of a fresh spring rain down in Tennessee, in the hills of Tennessee, or in Arkansas. Just so much weather. I love weather, the changing weather. And so here we are, and along the Front Range, we have a lot of weather that changes. And I find myself being very much like that weather. And so there was a time when I thought that somehow I had to force the seasons of my heart to always be a consistent, happy, shiny, beautiful, fruitful place. But I would keep finding myself going through some foul bits of weather in my own life, in my own seasons. And so at some point I began to understand that the Creator God who made weather also gave me weather. And so some people might call it moods or moodiness. It's more than that. It's not it's not even a, there are times when I make bad decisions and then I pay for it. I'm not talking about having just my own sinfulness. I'm just talking about the general thing, because I can be going along doing serving the Lord. Things are going really well, and one morning I wake up and I start being very thoughtful. And as I'm thoughtful and considerate and thinking about what's happening, I can descend into a very thoughtful, quiet mood. I can, in the midst of great trial or pain or other things, I can be very joyful and happy and feel like this is unseasonably so. So I'm not talking about something that is just going with the seasons, but I'm talking about specifically the need that I have. And here's a picture. I love this little picture from last night. This was me with William. So William is in his colonial history dress, and I was up on stage for a while, and so when I got off stage, William wanted to come to me. So he's got a little lovey there that he's holding that's probably not colonial history, but he just wanted to come and snuggle with me. William knows so much of what he can expect from me as his dad, like that. Even earlier this afternoon, we were wanting him. Right now, I mean, there's 6 inches of snow out there or more, and the boys, Stacy took a bunch of the boys to go sledding a little bit ago, and they'll be coming home any minute. But William was getting tired, and so I thought he should probably take a nap. So Stacy and I were like, he should probably stay here. We didn't say anything to him. I just turned on the sleeping music in here. I have a 3-hour section of sleeping music that I like to use off of YouTube, and he's out there getting ready with the boys. He wants to go out to sled, and suddenly he hears the music, and he's like, no, Papa, not the sleeping music. Me no sleep. Papa sleep. And he was trying to tell me I needed to go sleep because he wasn't going to sleep, and he hasn't yet. He went along sledding. Then he insisted that he was one of the big boys and should go along sledding. But his little personality, there's times when he needs to just spend some quiet time with his father. In the same way, I need that. And so I feel like I've gotten much better about embracing the seasons of the heart that come along, and to not try to rush every season that comes. I'm not trying to maintain a consistently happy place up here. I am trying to be consistently focused on Christ and understand the ups and downs of life. And so this week has been one of those where I've been a little bit on the lower side. So if you're drawing a chart, I was going downward, and so I somewhere down here. And it doesn't mean I've been truly depressed. Back, I remember from about November to April or May of like around 2008-ish. That I was in some true depression where I really was struggling. This is not like that. It has things that remind me of that, but it has this just a certain melancholy. I remember the very first time I took any kind of a personality or motivational quiz or whatever, and I came out with, and it was the one where you talk about the choleric, the sanguine, the melancholy, and the phlegmatic. And I remember I took the quiz, the test, and it put me halfway sanguine and halfway melancholy, like 50-50. Like not, mostly one, and then it just put me halfway. And so my mom looked at it, and I was probably 15 or 16 at the time. And so my mom looked at it and said, you answered the questions wrong. I'm going to answer them for you. So she goes through and answers all the questions for me because she knows me. And she came out with the same results. Somehow I was 50% melancholy and 50% sanguine. And so to this day I laugh because I feel like I'm 50% introvert and 50% extrovert, and that I have both of those in my life. So the point that I wanted to make with saying this is that I go through these different seasons, and I love the fact that in nature God has given us seasons. And here along the Front Range, I feel like our seasons keep getting lambasted and moved all around, and we can be mowing grass and doing things like that one week, and the next week I'm shoveling snow. So it happens. I have here, let's see, like this was on Sunday. Yeah, here we go. This was on Sunday. No, when was this? Yeah, this is Sunday afternoon. Stacy is here, and we were sitting out on the front, on the back porch, and she was just painting a picture because it was a beautiful sunny day. Just the day before, let's see if I'm going the right way. Yeah, here we go. Here are the tomatoes we were starting. I think this was a week ago. Might have been a week and a half ago. Anyway, they are actually beginning to sprout now. We looked at the time and thought it was about time to start our tomato seeds. So the boys put some water in these cookies, and William told me very specifically that those cookies are not for eating. Oh, I forgot to transition over again. So let me go back. Here we go. Here is Stacy painting a picture, and here are the boys watering the cookies to start putting the tomato seeds in. And then, and when we're doing that, William was like, "It's yucky, don't eat it, not a cookie." Yes, that's right, William, it's not a cookie. He figured that out. But here, we got a blueberry bush, several blueberry bushes that we're planting in different places. So the boys had just dug the hole and put it all in. They had so much energy that day, so they dug the hole and put in the little blueberry bush right here. And so it's all covered up out there underneath some plastic and then a big pile of snow. So we'll see how all of that actually ends up turning out, because we were not expecting this much. I mean, honestly, I'm expecting all kinds of things. So the weather here is awesome. It's up and down, up and down. What I have learned about myself and the weather, and my wife has even learned this, is when I go into the more melancholy side of life, she doesn't fight it. She doesn't get discouraged. She doesn't get afraid of it. She's like, yep, this is where Joseph, he goes up, he goes down. And so I do different things. And so a lot of times when I'm down, I think a lot of deep thoughts. I journal. It helps me in developing story concepts and things. And so it's a useful time. And then as I'm climbing back out of the discouraged, melancholy feeling down here, I'm often very productive on the upswing. And so then I get moving, and then I get a lot of stuff done. And then when I'm at the top of my game, when I'm doing all of these things and accomplishing so much, a lot of times at that point I'll get too much stuff going, and suddenly stuff starts unraveling, which then leads me on my way down. So there are several things that have helped me tremendously. Just the making of lists has been very helpful. Putting some discipline in for daily routines has been very helpful, because I am so up and down about things. So I'm just trying to honestly tell you how things work. But I read a verse this week, and I want to actually talk about it. So I've been spending all this time talking about the weather and everything. I'm drinking some dark roast coffee from Portland Coffee Roasters, and I was really, really enjoying it. Some dark roast coffee is just too dark. French roast is often too dark, but this is just the dark roast that I'm really enjoying. So I'm grateful. I am grateful for a change in coffee. So this week I was reading, and in Psalm 45, this actually happens a lot. If I'm feeling somewhat discouraged, I'll just start reading Psalms, because boy, David had a way with words to put some complaints into action, and so I like reading those. But I was reading Psalm 45, and it says, "My heart is overflowing with a good theme. I recite my composition concerning the King. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer." And I love that verse because I'm a writer, and I'm constantly having to come together with composition and put words together. And so I loved it. It was like my heart is overflowing with a good theme. And I was thinking when I read it, this was a couple days ago, I was thinking, I don't know that I can truly say my heart is overflowing with a good theme right now, because I'm full of complaints, actually, because sometimes that's the part in the Psalms where I am. I'm writing the complaints, not the good theme. But I thought, it is true, though, that if I start thinking about the King, my King Jesus, that is a really good theme, and it does cause my heart to overflow. And so my tongue is the pen of a ready writer. I have a lot of ways that I can tell you of the goodness of God, how good He's been to me, how good He is to me right now. And so I'm grateful. So anyway, Psalm 45 is kind of a favorite because it opens with that verse. But as I was reading down, I really was almost arrested by this one thought. So this is talking, he first says how his heart is overflowing with a good theme. Then he recites the composition, and as he's reciting the composition concerning the King, this is what he says. You are fairer than the sons of men. Grace is poured upon your lips. Therefore God has blessed you forever. Gird your sword upon your thigh, O mighty one, with your glory and your majesty, and in your majesty ride prosperously because of truth, humility, and righteousness. And your right hand shall teach you awesome things. Your arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies. The peoples fall under you. Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of your kingdom. Verse 7. You love righteousness and hate wickedness. Therefore God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness more than your companions. And right there I stopped. It's because I've heard the phrase, the oil of gladness, that more than your companions, and I've thought about that a lot. And actually, verse 6 and 7 are actually quoted over in Hebrews chapter 1, very specifically tying it to Jesus, saying that God spoke these words to His Son, and that to the Son He said this. And so, this is what stuck out to me. It says, therefore God your God has anointed you with the oil of gladness more than your companions. And because it says therefore, I was wanting to see what it was that made Him have more of the oil of gladness, because I need more oil of gladness. I'm running low, especially this week as I was dealing with things, and I'm like, I feel like I'm running low. So what did it say? Well, it says that you love righteousness and hate wickedness. And honestly, when I read that, I started thinking, oh no, when I start seeing wickedness and hating wickedness, a lot of times it causes a lot of grief to me, and I don't feel like that causes me to actually have more joy than my companions. And so the only thing that I can think of is if the way that I love wickedness, strike that, if the way that I love righteousness and hate wickedness is causing me grief instead of gladness, then maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I'm not doing it the way I'm supposed to be doing it. And so the verse itself really challenged me. It reminded me of the words over in Ecclesiastes, where it says that, this is Ecclesiastes 10, verse 1, it just says, dead flies putrefy the performer's ointment and cause it to give off a foul odor, so does a little folly to one respected for wisdom and honor. And I've often thought of that verse as like, we have this perfume, and it can be like our life, we look at it and say, it's so perfect. Everything I've been dreaming of, the goals I've been working toward, but I have these few flies in the ointment. And according to Ecclesiastes, it can be our own folly that puts those flies there. And sometimes I blame other things. I'm going along just fine and everything's working well, and I'm really glad and I'm happy, and then something comes in and starts messing with my oil of gladness, and the perfume is being messed up. And so I don't know if you grasp what I was going through, because I was thinking about the people I know who are most aware of the wickedness that's in the world, because it says He hates wickedness. and he loves righteousness. And so I'm thinking of the people, the believers I know who have spent the most time reading the Word of God, understanding what the righteousness is, and who are keenly aware of the wickedness. And I'm wondering, can it be said of us that we have more joy than our fellows? Do we have more of the oil of gladness because we know these things? So here's the pathway that I went down. A lot of times I read the scripture and I understand a little bit of what righteousness is and what it ought to look like, and so I apply it to the circumstances around me, to politics, to societal norms, to cultural things, and I think, oh, this is what righteousness looks like, and here's what's happening. This is not, we're not on the same page. And then it causes me to grieve a little and to be full of grief and to think, I hate this. I wish we were aligned. And somehow I assume that this is the final story, and that where the societal norms are and where the wickedness is as if that's written in stone and it's finished. And I'm not fully loving righteousness, because when I love righteousness, righteousness has a name. It's Jesus Christ, and the Jesus Christ is the door. He is the way. He's the truth. When we find ourselves in a place where there is too much wickedness and we hate wickedness, the beauty of righteousness is that wickedness, the hearts of people who are lost in wickedness, can turn around, repent, and follow after righteousness for the rest of their lives. If I find myself walking in wickedness, I can repent and turn to Jesus. If I see wickedness parading throughout the land, I know that if his people who are called by his name will turn from our wicked ways and will follow him, then wickedness can be silenced. The avenger can be silenced, and we can actually have peace and righteousness. And it says that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. And so why would I have more gladness if I love righteousness and hate evil or hate wickedness? I think it has to do with the fact that it's aligning me solidly with the King. I belong to him, and he has the path. He has the way forward. The world will tell you we're stuck. Satan will come and tell you it's over. You've lost. And so this is part of why when I'm going through one of my low periods in my seasons, I don't stress out, because I understand I'm a human and I have to see kind of the darker side of life occasionally. But I'm not finished. The story's not finished. And I love righteousness. And I love the fact that there are new beginnings. And that's one of the reasons why we love weather changes so much is, when it's so super dry in Texas, and then you smell rain in the wind, and you see the cloud bank coming, and then boom, the norther hits, and leaves shake and rattle, and suddenly it's raining. We need the rain, and we're grateful for the change. In the spring, when the sun comes out, and this was up in Montana, it could take sometimes weeks for the snow all to melt. Hey, Hudson, did you go sledding? Mm-hmm. Was it fun?
Yeah, but the only time it wasn't fun when I went in Santa Claus tree.
Wait, you went into did you say a Santa Claus tree?
Yeah, because there was snowing beside when we were sledding.
Oh, so it was like a
yeah.
Christmas tree and you crashed into it? Oh my, that's funny. Okay.
When I came back, we were talking about Santa Claus, how he couldn't fit in a chimney.
Oh, a Santa Claus could not fit in a chimney?
Yeah, because it's pretty small.
Yeah. So, I guess that tells people that you don't actually believe there's a real Santa Claus?
Yeah, because it can't go in the chimney.
Can't go in the chimney. Oh, Hudson, I love you, buddy. Who gives you your presents around here?
That's my mom.
Your mom? Do I ever give you any presents?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever give anyone presents?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you love it when it snows?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, me too. All right, I'm almost finished here, so you should probably run along, okay? So, if I understand wickedness and I understand righteousness, I don't have to despair if I find myself face to face with wickedness, because I know that the power of Christ can overcome the wickedness. And so if I love righteousness, I ought to walk around with more gladness than my fellows, because I have this confidence that it's not in me. It's not in, like it says, like Paul says to the Corinthians, it's not in this earthen vessel, but it's what's inside. And what's inside? The power of the King. He's flowing through me. And I am so grateful for that. So when I'm low, I am hopeful and glad. When I'm up here on the mountaintop, I am hopeful and glad, because I know that as much as God loved us, He made a way for us. He is the way for us. He is the door to the sheepfold. And so anytime that I think there is no way, He's the way. There is a way. And I'm grateful for that. So I'm not going to say that I have more joy than all my fellows, because I've got some pretty well-rounded Christians around me, and some of my fellows have a consistent, deep relationship with Jesus Christ, and they expect the Spirit of the living God to work through them at all times, and they're good people to have around me. And so that is what we should be doing. We shouldn't be surprised when there's wickedness in the world. It's just part of what's been here since the fall. But we should also not be despairing because of the wickedness. In fact, sometimes when the wicked one raises his head the highest and flaunts his strength the most, it's a last-ditch effort to scare the people of God. I do not want to be scared by the wicked one. I want to hate wickedness, understand that wickedness, the results and where it goes, and I want to love righteousness and love Jesus and expect Him to be victorious, because He has been victorious in my life. He's been victorious in many of my fellows' life and the people around me, and He will be victorious throughout all eternity. Christ the King is greater oil of gladness than all of His fellows, according to the writer of Hebrews, quoting from Psalm 45, because He loves righteousness and hates wickedness. So if you find that your understanding of righteousness and wickedness that's around you is not giving you joy, then I would suggest that you're somehow doing it wrong. And we should figure out, how was it that Jesus can be fully aware of wickedness and fully loving righteousness, and that He can be filled with joy in the midst of a wicked, perverse world? Because we need that. Last week, we took a moment off to go on a bit of a date, my love and I. And we went out and went on a little hike. I'm going to show you a few pictures here. So this is us. There we are. So we finally got to go on a bit of a date. There's a little bit of snow still up there on that mountain behind us, and now there's even more up there. But we went on a hike. Love this park. Let's see if I can find the other pictures from that day. There was a little waterfall. I was trying to get that. There we go. Then we got to the sunset part, and it was beautiful. It was the foothills. The sun was shining up on it was setting over the mountains. I just absolutely love being able to access these things. And one of the things that I've noticed is, at times when I am feeling the most pressure and stress, if my heart is unable to settle and find a place of peace, and this counts for whether I'm alone, like I talked about last week, or if I'm in the middle of a great crowd and a lot of things going on, if I can find a spot, any spot, like last night during our dress rehearsal for our play for the Living History Days here, I found a spot backstage where I could look out the window and see the snow collecting on all the trees outside and the world being transformed by the snow. And there was something so beautiful about that moment that it spoke to me of the Creator. And so what I'm suggesting is, there are times when the world around us is pretty wacky and the wickedness is there and we hate it, but then we want to love righteousness. And so one of the beautiful things of righteousness is the creation of God that He has made. we can look at it, whether it's a small plant, whether it's a little bit of something, whether it's a child like Hudson who just came in here a minute ago, but we can look at something that God has made and see how, when something is right, how beautiful it is. And just to let our hearts settle in that there is a good God who gives good gifts to his children, and that he gives the oil of gladness. And the oil of gladness isn't always giddy happiness. Sometimes it's just a deep down understanding and determination that no matter what, God is good, and I'm his, and I belong to him. So those are my thoughts for this week. I really want to have the oil of joy, not necessarily more than all my fellows, but I want to have the oil of joy in my life. So I don't know how it's going for you, but may the Lord bless you with lots of the oil of gladness, so that even in the lowest parts of your life, you can still have the oil of gladness. Until next week, love you guys.